Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. I want to welcome you to the regular called meeting of the Temple City Council for December 16th of 2021. Apologize for us running a little bit late, so the official opening time will be 5:20. Please rise as Mayor Pro Tem Judy Morales leads us in the invocation, which will be followed by our pledge, which will be led by City Secretary Jana Llewellyn.
Join me, please. Gracious Father, we invite you to be here with us today as we celebrate your son's birth. On this Christmas, make it real in our hearts. Never have we ever needed you with this joy and peace more than now, and thank you for your gift of Jesus. The Word, your flesh, forgive us for forgetting that your love never changes and never fades, and that you will never abandon the purpose to which you came, to save us from our sinful condition and to give us the eternal life and the joy of our relationship with you, Lord. You are a wonderful counselor, our mighty God, everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. Today we have chosen to put you at the center of our community as we celebrate your birth. Keep us from distractions and help us to always invite you into our community's activities, and teach us to pray and help us to glorify and worship, especially you during the busy time of the year. Give us a spirit of wisdom and revelation that we might know you better. Open our eyes to realize each day as we interact with others. Help us to be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as you forgave us. Show us creative ways to love and care for those outside our homes. Thank you for the community leaders, our mayor, our city council, our city staff, our police, fire, men and women, our doctors, our nurses, the first responders, and all those who tirelessly work to serve and protect our city. May they each be a refreshment and light to others. Help us to share your truth and be your light, as you are the Savior of the world. We love you, Father. We praise you, and we ask all this in your Son's most precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both very much. We'll now move on to our public comments section of this meeting. Any citizens that wish to desire to address the council on any matter may do so. We ask that you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes, and please understand that there will be no discussion or final action taken by the council. First person on the list is Miss Bobby Thompson.
Good evening. Bobby Thompson, 904 South Kennedy Street. Mayor Davis and District 2 Councilwoman Judy Morales and Councilman. I am here today to thank you for keeping my favorite part, Jeff Hamilton, and the area mowed around it. Also, thank you for the great Christmas parade. That was the first one I had been to in about 15 years. And I really enjoyed it. And thank y'all for taking care of the city of Temple, Texas. Also, thanks for the new houses coming up in our area. I'm very pleased to see that. We still are looking for a bank in East Temple, and we're still looking for a grocery store. And I want to say, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from me and Chester.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Merry Christmas to you and Chester from us. Next is Mr. Alan Lytle. Mr. Lytle, it's good to see you. It's been a while.
Thank you. Yes, it has, and I apologize for not being able to get you. My name is Alan Lytle. I live at 504B Paseo del Plata here in Temple. And I'd like to talk to you just a little bit, actually like to talk to the public about item K, our regional habitat conservation plan. I want to remind people that the city of Temple does not make anything. Bell County does not make anything. And the United States government definitely does not make anything. It's the only place the $1 million grant came from, and the $20,000 Temple is going to contribute to that, is from our taxes and my taxes. So be sure and spend it wisely when you create a habitat for the spotted worms. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lytle. You're a fan of spotted worms? Move on to item number 3. And that item is a discussion regarding 12 East Central. Mr. James Furch has asked to be on tonight's agenda. I don't see him in person. Is he online? Okay, very good. Mr. Furch is not available, so we will move on. Move on to item 4, which is a presentation by Bell County Tax Assessor Collector Shay Ludicky for the fiscal year 2021 child safety funds collected that were in the amount of $91,549.11.
Mayor, Council, thank you. My name is Shay Ludicky. I am the Bell County Tax Assessor Collector, and I'm here to give you your money. Here with me this evening, also representing county, and I believe you'll hear from him next, is Commissioner Precinct 3, Bill Schuman. Across the county, registration fees have actually increased about 10.7% from the prior year, 2020. That's mainly due to the COVID waiver that we had last year. A lot of people waited till the next fiscal year, so that's where the additional fees came from this year. The other half coming from residents moving from out of state and people buying new cars, additional third or fourth cars. With that said, in FY 2021, we collected $1.50 on registering 306,297 vehicles in Bell County. Since the program started in 2001, Bell County has distributed $1,511,947.55 just to the city of Temple. This year's allocation for Temple is almost $12,000 more than the previous year. And that's mainly due to a couple things, but mainly due to the census. The 2020 census reallocated all the funds throughout the county, and with the increase in population in Temple, that helped a bunch. According to the Transportation Code, Chapter 502.403, the county tax assessor collector may collect an additional $1.50 per vehicle registration, except for those exempt as established by code with the approval of the Commissioner's Court. The funds must be spent on existing crossing guard programs. If the school district does not have a crossing guard program, the funds may be spent on programs designed to enhance child safety, health, or nutrition, including child abuse prevention and intervention, and drug and alcohol abuse prevention, or for programs designed to enhance public safety and security in accordance with Article 102.014, Section G of the Code of Criminal Procedure. The check for this year's allocation for Temple is $91,549.11. And a copy of this letter was also sent to the Temple Independent School District. With that, I have a check.
Good. We'll take it.
Take it.
Probably Ms. Bernard.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Back anytime.
That's right.
Everybody loves seeing the tax assessor in
That's right.
December. That's
But never any other time.
right.
Item 5 is to receive a presentation by Commissioner Bill Schuman of the fiscal year 2021 hotel motel tax collected. And I'll let you announce the amount.
I'm glad you can tell the difference between me and Judge Blackburn.
I can.
Just a little bit of a history lesson, and I think Wendell probably is the only one that remembers how long this hotel motel tax issue has been around. I believe it started in the early 2000s. We tried to get the county has to have specific state legislation for us to collect the hotel motel tax. So we had to have a law passed that said Bell County can charge 2% hotel motel tax. We were unsuccessful in many legislative sessions getting that passed because of lack of state support. And it wasn't until just a few sessions ago, Wendell, that because of the support of the communities, Temple, Killeen, Belton, and some of the, like Salado with the bed and breakfast that they have, and now the hotels, that pressure and that support was felt by the state, and we were able to start collecting that hotel motel tax. Along with that, we made the agreement to the cities that we would carve out 17% of what we collected as a county, and we would redistribute that to the cities. So for 2021, Temple's portion of that is $86,686.25. It's been a great thing, I think, for the cities, and a great thing for Bell County. Almost all of that money goes to the expo, and you can see that we're improving the expo almost every day. And we thank you for your support. We thank you for the legislative effort that you put forth a few years ago, and we continue to look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We appreciate the efforts of the county.
I tried to get $86,000 cash in that envelope.
Commissioner, I'm just glad, since you said I was old enough to remember, you didn't say it happened in 1937.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You bet. Thank you. All right, very good. We will now move on to item 6, which is the consent agenda. All items that are listed under this section are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted in one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of that council member and may be considered separately. During our time in workshop earlier, we decided that we would like to table items 6F and 6H. Council, is there anything else that needs to be removed since our previous discussion? All right, then I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda, which is item 6A through 6Y minus 6F and 6H.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as you outlined, item minus 6F and 6H, which are being tabled.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 6 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 7, which is a regular agenda. It's the second reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing an amendment and adopting the tax increment financing reinvestment zone number 1 financing and project plans to align with the master plans, excuse me, which include adjusting bond proceeds, adjusting revenues, allocating funding for future debt service, operating expenditures, and public improvements for fiscal years 2022 through 2062. Council, we had Ms. Bernard give us a presentation yesterday at the special called meeting. Would anybody like to run through that presentation again? Or are you still comfortable with what we'll be voting on? Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Bernard, for being ready. I will open the public hearing if there's no further discussion. And I ask you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform. There being none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 7.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the ordinance authorizing the tax increment financing reinvestment zone number 1 financing and project plan.
Second.
We have a motion by Council Member Williams. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Council, please cast your vote. Item 7 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 8, this is the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a city-initiated rezoning request to accommodate the relocation of the Temple Community Clinic from two-family dwelling and planned development general retail to general retail district on 1.15 plus or minus acres located in the East Pennington Survey, abstract number 658, in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas. Addresses 915 South 31st Street and 1508 West Avenue J. Mr. Chandler.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And so as was mentioned in the item description, this is a city-initiated rezoning for the Temple Community Clinic and for their relocation. And so you can see where that's located, and really zooming in on the right, you can see that's a familiar location, city property immediately to the south of the underground water tanks there near Avenue J. And so the Temple Community Clinic is currently at Wilson Park. And so this would be a relocation for that facility. And so they are proposing 11,500 square feet total, 8,000 of which would be for the clinic, and then around 3,500 square feet for a community space. And so the clinic is not allowed in the 2F, two-family zoning district, which you can see in the light brown, is allowed in the current plan development GR. So we're just proposing to consolidate that into a single GR lot, removing the PD, which is a bit unusual because we're usually trying to add plan developments. So this is a good occasion to actually drop that requirement. But that was actually for a recycling center a number of years ago. And so clearly that's no longer needed at this location. And so just a quick update in terms of the clinic would be classified as hospital. We actually don't have that currently in our use table. That is a more intense use, but is allowed in GR, and so clearly would be allowed in this rezoning. And looking at the comprehensive plan and the future development map specifically, we have corridor mixed use and we have urban residential on the eastern side, and so this would be allowed in both of those designations. Also, 31st Street is a major arterial, and the Trails Master Plan shows this corridor as a thoroughfare connector trail, which you all see the spanking new sidewalk there in sections of 31st Street, which implements that part of the master plan. And so here you can see the facility, previously been fire training facilities. And most recently, Transform Temple has used it. And of course, you've got some of the commercial immediately to the south. And along Avenue J, you can see that transitions to offices and then to residential. And then on the east side of 29th Street is primarily residential. So 19 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet, and to date, we have not received a single response. And so staff and P&Z both recommend approval. They voted for unanimous approval at their December 7th meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Council, any questions on this item?
I do have a question.
Parking, would you just show us how that works with the,
Go back to the aerial. So it's going to be a complete new construction.
right?
And so parking, there will be, we've taken a conceptual look at their the concept plans, and so the parking will be able to be accommodated on the site for both the uses, the community space and for the community clinic.
And at plating, or when will we see ingress and egress off of 31st or J or wherever?
So that would be at the permit stage.
Permitting stage, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Yeah, but this is going to be an exciting project. So it'll take an old building down and replace it with something much nicer. So.
And a great location on the material.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, any more comments before I open the public hearing? Item 8 is subject to a public hearing. If you'd like to make any comments, we ask that you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform. Okay, there being none on either, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 8.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 8 as presented by Mr. Chandler.
Second,
We have a motion by Councilmember Long and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 8 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item number 9, it's the first reading in a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending sections 1 through 5 voting district, chapter 1, general provisions of the city code by establishing new boundaries for the city's 4 single-member districts.
Good evening, council members. I'm Gunnar Sequist. I'm with the big law firm of Bickerstaff, Heath, Delgado, and Acosta. Is this microphone on? Are y'all able to hear me okay?
I think so.
Perfect.
Yes.
We are here tonight for the first reading and public hearing on the redistricting plan that the council has drawn in our past 2 redistricting drawing sessions. And just as a reminder for all of you and for those who may not have heard me say it before, this process is to rebalance the population in the single member city council districts based on the 2020 census that has come out. And the way the census came out is that precincts 1 and 2 were light and precincts 3 and 4 were heavier. So with the exercise that the council undertook was moving some population out of districts 3 and 4 and into city council districts 1 and 2. And by doing that, the council was able to come up with a plan that brought the overall deviation down within the acceptable 10% that the federal law tells us we need to adhere to. And so I think I have Jackson Biggs.
Yes, yeah, I'm working on getting the screen share going right now.
He's going to bring up the screen just so we can put the map up for you all to look at. And otherwise, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, or we can take a public hearing.
I do have a question while we're waiting.
Yes.
The redistricting is done every 10 years in conjunction with the census. You have to have new current census data to do any redistricting. Could you come in 5 years and redistrict again, or do you have to wait for the current census data?
You have to wait for the current census data.
Thank you.
So the answer is no, you could not.
Do not. No,
Right.
only when the census data comes out.
Right.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to verify.
Are we getting that map pulled up? Are we going to be able to?
Yeah, I got it pulled up. I'm not really sure with Zoom how to share the screen. I'm looking for a button and not quite seeing anything.
On the bottom, there's not a picture or an up arrow that says share screen.
I have mute and stop video on the bottom left. And participants chat. Oh, I'm an idiot.
There we go. And Jackson, for our purposes, why don't you see if you can maybe lower the table down and just blow the map up a little bit more so that we can get a better look at it. And just for everyone's reference, if you look at the solid red lines on this map, what that is depicting are what we call the benchmark, or what the current city council lines are. And then where the shading extends past those lines is what the council has drawn in order to bring those populations into balance. So for example, if you were looking at precinct 1, again, precinct 1 was light, it needed to gain population. And so we had precinct 1 take in a little bit of precinct 4 off to the west there. and just a slight bit of precinct 2 to create a more square line there at the bottom east corner of precinct 1. And then precinct 2 took in a little bit of precinct 3 there on the south side of 2, north side of 3. And then precinct 4 it gave up territory to 1. And otherwise, I don't think we had any other changes for precinct 4. But that was how we were able to reduce that population in precinct 4 to come into balance. And overall, Jackson, will you back out just a little bit? So I can see, let me see the overall deviation number, Jackson, please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So under this plan, we brought the overall deviation, which is the difference between the most populated district and the least populated district, down to 7.11%. Just for reference, before we started this process, that number was 54.2% deviation. So you saw some significant growth over the census, and it didn't grow up equally, so we had to rebalance that. And that's what this process is.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Sequist. Council, any questions before I open the public hearing? All right. Item 8, subject to a public hearing. Anyone that wishes to speak on this item may do so. Come on up. As always, state your name and address for the record. And if we have anybody on the virtual platform. Okay. Very good.
Alan Lytle, 504B Paseo del Plata here in Temple. As you looked at the map, you can see that area 1 and 4 are very, very large geographically in order to get enough people in there to balance out the smaller geographics of 3 and 4. As you said, from the previous census, we grew 20,000 people. And I believe part of what Mr. Williams was probably looking at is we still have quite a few residential districts being built, especially in 3 and some in 4. So that we're looking at a still larger population in those areas. With such a huge growth, and I didn't look up the law regarding it, from such a huge growth, is it perhaps time to consider adding 2 additional seats to our council? Thank you.
Thank you. I had somebody else pose that same question to me today, and maybe, I don't know at what point you look at it, but I think that's a valid question. Anybody else? All right, I'll close the public hearing on item number 8. And I'm sorry, on item 9. And
Mayor,
council.
I think you have a comment online.
Oh, okay, good.
Am I unmuted now? Hi, this is Terrace Goodwin. I just wanted to comment for people who might be looking at this for the first time. I did watch virtually one of y'all's workshops regarding the redistricting process, and I did think it was pretty interesting that y'all took into account the demographics and that variance that y'all tried to maintain, keeping all of those balanced. And I don't know, that's just something that I feel like is important to point out to everyone as y'all are making these redistricting proposals.
Thank you. Council, anything else? Okay. There being none, I will close the public hearing on item number 9 and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item 9.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Walker. We have a second by Councilmember Williams. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 5 passes. I'm sorry, item 9 passes 5 votes to 0.
Thank you all very much.
You bet. Thank you. And thank you for your help. That was an interesting process. Enjoyed it. Moving on to item 10 is to consider adopting resolutions authorizing point A, a tax abatement agreement with Palmer LLC, which will abate a percentage of the increases in the taxable value of certain real and personal property located on approximately 399.2 acre site at the southeast corner of Industrial Boulevard and Loop 363 as designated as the City of Temple Tax Abatement Reinvestment Zone number 43. Item B is an economic development agreement with Palmer LLC to construct or cause the construction of and equip one or more new data centers and or other facilities used to house and in which are operated computer systems and associated components, including accessory uses on an approximately 399.2 acre site at the southeast corner of Industrial Boulevard and Loop 363. And item C, a water and wastewater agreement with Palmer LLC to provide continuous and adequate potable water supply and water carried waste services and infrastructure to support the project. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Kelly, I might need some help advancing the slides because my pointer or my advancer doesn't seem to be working. Thank you. So a little bit about the project background. Palmer LLC is considering the development of one or more data centers and other facilities that are used to house and operate and maintain computer systems and associated components. The property, as Mayor mentioned, is located at approximately 400 acre tract at the site of southeast corner of Industrial Boulevard and Loop 363. Palmer plans to invest at least $800 million in the construction of and installation of improvements for the project, and also plans to create at least 40 new full-time jobs. The proposed tax abatement agreements with Palmer would grant the company a 10-year, 75% ad valorem tax abatement on the increase in real and personal property improvements from both the City of Temple and Bell County, and a 10-year, 50% tax abatement from Temple College. As a condition to the receipt of the abatement, the company must invest at least the $800 million for phase one, commence construction of the project no later than 2 years from the effective date of the agreement, complete the construction of phase one no later than 5 years from the commencement of construction, and additionally, Palmer must create and maintain at least 40 new full-time jobs. Because the property is physically located within the boundaries of the reinvestment zone, in order for an agreement to abate taxes on real property in the reinvestment zone to be approved, it also has to be consented to by the governing body of each taxing entity that imposes taxes on real property within the zone and deposits some of its tax increment into the TERS, and also has to be approved by the board of directors for the RZ. The board of directors for the reinvestment zone did consider this agreement at its December 14th meeting and did approve it at that time. Palmer may develop the project in phases extending over a period of years, and if they do so, they will be eligible for separate abatements for each subsequent phase that meets the additional subsequent investment as set forth in the agreement. For the economic development agreement, Palmer's obligations mirror closely those in the tax abatement agreement. Again, they must invest not less than $800 million in real and personal properties for the first phase. They can develop the property in multiple phases and will be eligible for separate program grants for each subsequent phase that meets the additional investment that's provided for in the agreement. They must create and maintain the 40 full-time jobs. They must commence the construction no later than 2 years from the date of the agreement and complete the construction of phase one not later than 5 years from the time that they commence construction. The city's obligations include providing 10 annual property tax grants per eligible phase of the project. The amount of each grant payment will be 75% of the total amount of ad valorem taxes paid by Palmer for each eligible phase. The timing of the payment of the property grants will commence the 12th calendar year following the year in which Palmer provides the city with the phase one completion report. And for each future phase, it would commence the calendar year following the year that the company provides the city a subsequent investment report for that future phase. We are also agreeing to provide 25 annual franchise fee grants that will equal an amount equal to 67% of the amount that the company pays to an electric utility provider for a municipal franchise charge imposed by the city. Under the terms of the water and wastewater agreement, the company agrees to pay the city an $800 million payment in consideration of the city completing certain infrastructure improvements. The city has the obligation to complete those certain infrastructure improvements that are laid out in exhibits to the agreement. We are committing to ensuring that water and wastewater capacity is guaranteed for each phase, and that would be continuously available to the company when needed after the completion of the water or wastewater improvements that are needed for that particular phase of the project. We're also agreeing to prioritize the company's uninterrupted service from the water and wastewater system to the maximum extent that we're allowed to do so by local, state, and federal laws and regulations. This is a summary snapshot of the infrastructure improvements that the city is making as part of this agreement. The ones in blue are related to phase 1, and the remaining projects are related to the second phase. Staff believes the project meets the various criteria in the city's standards for tax abatement, and the project will also expand the employment base, attract major investment, and contribute to the economic development in the city as required by Chapter 312. For these reasons, staff is recommending that these 3 agreements be approved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Council, any thoughts or questions? Okay. There being none, then I will entertain a motion on item number 10.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt item number 10A, B, and C as presented.
Have a motion by Councilmember Williams. We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Council, please cast your vote. Item 10 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 11, is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing a tax abatement agreement with LJT Texas LLC, which will abate a percentage of the increases in the taxable value of certain real property located at 3601 Everhart Road and designated as City of Temple Tax Abatement Reinvestment Zone number 44. Ms. Myers.
Thank you. So this is another proposed tax abatement agreement. This is with LJT Texas, which is Lock Joint Tube, which is a company that has made its home in Temple for quite some time, and we're happy to report that they're considering an expansion that would bring a little under 40,000 additional square foot of manufacturing facility to the industrial park that they would intend to use as for steel manufacturing. The property is located at 3601 Everhart Road. LJT has indicated plans to invest at least $20 million in the construction of and installation of improvements for the project. Under the proposed tax abatement agreement, the company would be, I'm sorry, I said Palmer there, but that's LJT would be eligible for a tax abatement agreement with the City of Temple, a 5-year, 70% tax abatement from the City of Temple on real property, and a 7-year, 50% tax abatement agreement from Bell County on real property. As a condition to the receipt of the abatement, they must invest at least $20 million. Again, this property is also located within the physical boundaries of the reinvestment zone, so the other participating taxing entities, as well as the board of directors of the RZ, must also approve the agreement. The board of directors approved this agreement at their December 14th meeting, and the other taxing entities are in the process of doing so as well. Staff does believe the project meets the various criteria set out in the city standards for tax abatement. We also believe that this project expands the employment base, attracts major investment, and contributes to the economic development in the city as required by Chapter 312. So we also recommend the approval of this agreement.
Thank you, council. Any thoughts or questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion on item number 11.
Here, I'll make a motion to approve item number 11, tax abatement agreement for the reinvestment zone number 44 as presented by Ms. Myers.
Second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 11 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item 12 is to consider adopting a resolution appointing one member to serve as the city's representative on the Board of Directors of the Tax Appraisal District of Bell County for a 2-year term. That's a nomination that I have spoken to, and Mr. Sam Fulcher has agreed to serve in that capacity. That's not an easy job, so I'm very appreciative of him taking that on. So, council, if there's no objection to that appointment, I would entertain a motion on item 12. We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Morales, and we have a second by Councilmember Williams to appoint Mr. Sam Fulcher to the Tax Appraisal District of Bell County. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 12 passes 5 votes to 0. That's the last item on tonight's agenda. On behalf of the City Council, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and this meeting is adjourned.
Mayor, can I say
Oh.
one more thing in addition to Merry Christmas?
Happy New Year.
No. Well, Happy New Year, yes. But I did also want to take the opportunity to tell my son Troy, happy birthday. Today is his 6th birthday. And so, yes. I wanted to tell him happy birthday on TV. Sure. You know what? You can come to Spare Time on Saturday and we will bowl and have some pizza. And he might even challenge you to a game of laser tag. Yes. Yeah.
How about birthday cake?
Oh, and birthday cake. Yes. Mhm.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
for attending.